So I remember the first time I saw Sister Act 2 when Miss Lauryn Hill sang in the last um almost last scene of the movie when they were performing live, right? And I was so inspired and I was like shocked by that moment. That impression of her singing was forever saved on my mind. And I think that was one of the first moments I remember when I felt like I wanted to sing. Um, I am from Venezuela, right? So usually singing like Spanish speaking singers sing in a different way. So there's a different style uh, for English speaking singers. At least that's what I think. And like the gospel and R&B and soul, it has like a different style. And I remember that the style and the passion and the confidence that she or that I perceived from her singing made me feel like I wanted to do that. So she was so well, the crazy thing is like she was kind of like scared at the beginning. And yeah, I don't know if you remember if you saw Sister Act 2. I think that's Sister Act 2, but yeah, that Sister Act movie. When like her mom walks in and she's like, and then she didn't sing. And then they tried it again and then she didn't sing. And then finally by the third time she started singing. And I was like, and I kind of like I could relate to that, being scared. And crazy fact here is that I actually when I was younger, I auditioned um for my school chorus, right? Choir, okay, chorus. For my school choir. And I I for some reason when I auditioned for it, I started singing a song. It was like it was in the classroom and I thought I was a good singer. It was I was very young, I guess. And then for some reason, I started singing the song in a very, very, very um high tone. So it was like so high. Um and I started singing a cappella. Sorry, not a cappella. I started singing in falsetto right away, like very, very high pitched. Like it was so crazy. And I was so quiet. And then obviously I didn't make it to choir. I think I was on key probably, but it was like so thin. My voice was so thin and so high that it was like, why did I do that? So ever since that moment, now maybe that's that somehow uh saved in my memory somewhere because I get a little scared when I sing live, which I have overcome that, I guess. But what what comes to my mind now is that if I was so like that's not how I sing at all. Why did that happen? And sometimes like I'm scared that something like when I sing live and or in front of people, like something comes out of my mouth that is actually not intended and that is actually so far away from the way I sing. But the actual point of the story was to ask you if you've ever had that moment where you see someone doing something so spectacular or so inspiring, and then you feel, wow, I want to do that. You feel that person in their element. You feel like that person is being themselves, or you feel like that person is being their true self. So, and I wanted to ask a question because I think that's what we're going to talk about today, which is in astrology, Leo, or your talents, your sun, what shines out from you, even if you're not conscious of it. But before we dig into that, I would like to welcome you back to the podcast. This is your host, Marco. I am a marketer, fitness coach, singer, and astrology student on a journey to discover what it means to be human. I'm on a quest to build a community that helps us believe in ourselves, unleash our inner power, and reclaim our voices through self discovery. So, if you enjoy discussing topics such as fitness, relationships, astrology, and human stories in general, please feel free to subscribe, share, or reach out. Together, through the power of stories and conversation, we can grow stronger as a community. And by like for now, the stories are my stories because I don't have any guests yet. But eventually we'll have guests here. That's what I'm aiming for. And so, if you're new to the podcast, you're gonna um I'll have to tell you this because like what I do is like I usually do this podcast in cycles. Um, and these cycles are aligned with the astrology or astrological order from Aries to Pisces, or from the first house in tropical astrology to the 12th house. And these are all archetypes. Um, and they have a sequence. It's 12 archetypes that go in order. So what I usually do is like I um work by polarities, like for example doing 6 episodes talking about 2 signs and then doing 12 episodes talking about each one of the signs. And this is what we're doing right now. So we've already done from half of the zodiac almost, because yeah, well, we're on Leo today and then we're going to be on Virgo. We did on last episode, we did Cancer. But what I wanted to say is that when I finish this cycle of 12 episodes, I would love to have a guest of each of the signs. For example, when I do Aries again, when I try to go even deeper into Aries or into the Mars energy or into the fire energy, or cardinal energy, I would love to have a guest who is an Aries, for example. So, or someone who has like that warrior archetype in their life, or that behave, or that energy comes naturally out from them. So that's what I have in mind. I'm not sure it's going to happen yet, but maybe that's going to happen. But let's go back to Leo. I wanted to tell that example first, the example uh, of how I felt inspired by someone being, I like to see it as true to themselves, because there are things that, of course, there's always explanation for everything, but there are some things that you cannot really understand. For example, I'm a singer. I, of course, know what the things that inspired me or that moved me, but I don't know why it moved me, you know? And maybe there can be like, you can go academic into that, or you can go into genes, and you can go into generations, and you can go into that to find an explanation, and you can go via a more spiritual approach to that. But sometimes there are things that just come naturally. Like my other brothers don't really sing. They're not that into, well, my brothers, they are into music and into arts, but not necessarily singing. And I think they shine at different things. For example, my brother loves talking to people, and my sister danced, and she's very organized. So there are things that where they are not, where they're naturally good at, or areas of life where they're naturally good. I am not, even though I'm a Virgo, I'm not that good at being organized, or that's what I like to. I think I'm not organized, but maybe I am. But I'm not as organized as some other people who are like naturally structured and super organized. I pay attention to detail, and I'm very into acts of service, which I guess that actually correlates more with Virgo. But wait, um, diverging from the topic. So I wanted to tell the example of that moment when something takes your kind of like your breath away and makes you think into the future, makes your eyes shine. Those moments that truly speak to your soul or to something in you, that and that triggers something in you that makes you want to find that in yourself, I think that's the energy of Leo. That's the energy of the sun. Um, and not only that, that make something shine in yourself, or but it's also that energy that mm, I'm trying to find the right word for this, that makes you believe that is amazing to be alive, that is that helps you find the joy in life, or actually not find, feel joyful. Actually, I mean, this is crazy because actually the song was joyful, joyful, Lord, we adore thee. That's funny. Um, that is crazy. But yeah, the word is joy, right? Finding that joy to be alive. And I think obviously there are many ways to find that through connection, obviously, with other people. And the ways you connect with other people is also influences that. Your family, your friends, sharing. Like everyone talks about, for example, social media, and usually sometimes, well, maybe it can be a double sword uh um thing, but double-edged sword, but sometimes it can be just too much of a call for attention. But I think the deep down is it's aiming for connection. Um and you can aim for connection through for through authenticity. You belong, and you find that connection through who you really are. And finding that, sometimes you can feel inspired by other people, and I think finding that gives you joy, and maybe the process of finding that also gives you joy. And sometimes it's hard for people to, for some people, for and it's been hard for me particularly to find, oh, what are my talents, and that's a question, like, what am I talented at? Like, what is it? And I try to find different things, and then I'm like, okay, because sometimes we only think of artistic things, but if there can be many things where you're naturally talented, and then when you shine and flow and you find this state of flow, um and for example, for me, it's probably singing. And sometimes I try to look and look and look. Maybe this is not what it is, or maybe this is not what it is. And then it's like very obvious. And I've done it since ever since I can remember. So going back to Leo and the archetype of the sun. So Leo is associated with the fifth house. This is fire archetype, or a fire energy. Things that and by the way, is ruled by the sun. The sun is conscious, represents consciousness, but traditionally represents like your vital force, like what drives you, that power, your engine, right? That motor of life, like the sun, what gives you heat, it's fire. So and warmth, and what literally shines, right? And like if you see that, it's like what comes, like you see the sun, it's always there. Sometimes you can feel it stronger. um but it's always there, and there's no, I guess, from a physical and astronomical perspective, I guess, I don't know, it'll explode. I don't know what's going to happen with the sun eventually, but now it's like it's always there. You don't have to do anything, it's there, right? And it's natural, it's part of life. And I think that can be associated also with your talent, with who you are, and with the things that come naturally to you again. So it's associated with the fifth house, and in the fifth house, it's all everything that has to do with creativity, and everything that has to do with your inner child. And when we were younger, so that's example, particularly important to go back to your childhood and to find, to think, maybe obviously if you didn't have like the best childhood, it might be a little difficult, but if there's a way you can find a memory where you were like so happy, maybe a song that reminds you of a moment that where you were so happy, and that brings you back to that feeling of joy, a feeling of joy in life. That's maybe a good path to go to discover your talents, or where you're naturally good at. And maybe ask the people around you. But what happens with a child? It's like when you're a kid, you're not, till some extent, it's like you're naturally who you are. You're not ashamed of who you are. You don't apologize. You're not apologetic for the things that you think, and you're not ashamed of expressing the way you want to express, um, or of your self expression. And there's a lot of power in play. You're being playful. There's fun. You're not preoccupied. You're not thinking about the future. Maybe you're not thinking about responsibilities, and you're able to be who you really are. Of course, there needs to be eventually, when you're an adult, you need to have, like, your healthy boundaries. You're thinking about the future and all these things that are not, that need to be a little more contained. At the same time, if you start developing or creating this mask or this things in order to fit in and not to belong, in order to fit in and find connection that way, changing who you really are to find connection, I don't think it's the best. it's it's maybe it can be a mechanism that it works to some extent, but, and I think obviously I've done it, like we've all done it, and we can see that, with Saturn and all these things, that make you um find structure, fit in from, which is necessary, but not from the right place, I would say, or from the place that would serve you most and that would serve humanity or society more. Um, but instead, it should be from this place of, okay, there's healthy boundaries. There needs to be some mind to it, some thinking to it. At the same time, there needs to be a balance in between letting yourself be and not necessarily being ashamed for your talents and for the things that are balanced and regulated, of course, and the things that are healthy for you and that are healthy to share with other people and to inspire other people. So when we see the energy of Leo, again, it's the energy of the heart, is the energy of connection, is the energy from where you connect with other people. It's that um, deeper connection that makes you feel alive. Like when you fall in love, it makes you feel alive. When you um, meet a friend that you've never seen, that like you haven't seen in so long, it brings joy out of you. When you do a workout or when you do a yoga class and then you open your, like, there are many things that bring out that shine, that makes your heart jump and beat. Or when you see your family and when you're surrounded by the people you love, or when it's your birthday, for example, that everyone celebrates you and you're the center of attention, not from a narcissistic perspective, but from the celebration of life. That's the energy of Leo, and that's the energy of your talents being alive. So I guess your very first talent would to be alive and to be able to share something that maybe you don't even know, um, from a rational perspective. But I'm getting too esoteric here. I'm getting to, like, I don't know. But yeah, so again, your talents. And if you've in life, if you've so again, you don't need astrology for anything. You can just look at your life. Again, it's like what comes naturally to you. Maybe it's talking to people, maybe it's taking care of someone else, maybe is cooking, maybe is creating a software, maybe it's writing, maybe it's singing, maybe it's, you don't necessarily need to be good at singing, but maybe if you sing amazingly, not necessarily on tune, but it's something that makes people laugh or makes you connect with other people, that's great too. It is not about the skill, it's about the areas or the craft where you shine, and where you can connect and give joy to yourself and to other people. And so, as I was saying, if you cannot see it that way, also from astrology, you can look at your fifth house, where your fifth house is. This is very easy. You just go online, you type astral chart, and you can go on YouTube and find like how to see where my fifth house is, and it'll tell you. It'll be easy. And if not, you can just drop a comment and I'll help you. Um, and you can literally um, go and see where your fifth house is, where your sun is. It's a point of future. It's an evolutionary point in the chart, or yeah, an evolutionary dot or point in the chart. Also, where Leo is, and that can give you a little bit of a clue of where your talents might be. So if it's in your fifth house, archetypically, it's like creating art, creating things, creating something new, falling in love with what you do, falling in love with life. If Leo, for example, is in your 10th house, it's maybe communicating it to the world, being out there, being maybe a public figure or being a comedian. I don't know. There's something that you can share, you know, with many, many, many people. If your sun is in your first house, this is about you. If your sun, for example, is in the seventh house, maybe with agreements, with relationships with other people. If your sun is in your 12th house or in your eighth house, it's more of connecting from a more spiritual, intuitive perspective and being in tune with your spirituality. And there's so much information in astrology. So those are a few aspects that you can actually look for. So where is Leo? Where's your fifth? Like what sign is in your fifth house, and which planets are there? And then where's your sun? That would be the first one. Where is my sun energy? And that's what drives you, what brings you, what makes you feel alive from an astrological perspective. Again, this is from astrology. I mean, this can all be literally not true, but this is the things I'm interested in. So, as just to finish today's podcast for or episode, for the ones who are just listening, I'm trying to take a tarot card right now. I'm gonna find a tarot card. I wanted to do it live. I didn't want to like do it beforehand because I didn't want to get like biased or whatever. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to take it now. So I have the Seven of Cups. I'll have to find now Seven of Cups. I'm going to show it to you here. This is just something fun. I don't necessarily believe or not believe in the tarot. Just for fun. Okay? All right? So we're going to look for that in a little book that it's here. My friend Zeke gave to me. Actually, when you get your tarot card, it's just like when you start tarot, it's like basically someone needs, I think that's a tradition or something. I don't really know, but someone gives the tarot to you, like your first tarot needs to be given to you as a gift, of course. So this is from Persia. This is an Arabic folk tale. The Seven of Cups shows Aladdin standing before a myriad of fantastical dreams. It is impossible for him to pursue them all, and it is important he makes his decision wisely and quickly. Upright, daydreaming, fantasy, decisions, wishful thinking, and procrastination. Oh, this actually relates a lot to me right now. This is funny, because I'm like very wishful thinking, and I can relate to procrastination too. And then reverse, it says reality, clarity, temptation, confusion, and diversion. I think this it says Aladdin standing before a myriad of fantastical dreams. It is impossible for him to pursue them all. And this is what I was talking about when when I was saying that as we are young, we have all these things. We're all like dreamy, and maybe, of course, if you had I know it's not the case, unfortunately, for everyone. Um, but as kids, I guess we can be like, playful, and there's no pretentiousness. There's just being who you are, right? And there's all these dreams and believing that you can be anything. And I think that's true to some extent. But then there's some decisions that need to be made. Um, and there's some structures and there's some other things like dreaming is not enough. Like you need action and then you need for action you need decision. That's actually it. So I cannot speak about that a lot specifically because it's hard for me to make decisions. I spoke about this when I talked about Gemini. You can go a few episodes back. But it's all these dreams and then finding where there's more energy, where your energy overflows, when you feel more energy. This is something many people say, like in entrepreneurship and all this in business, and feeling like trying to do the thing that gives you energy and follow and then following that makes you feel good, that helps you feel joy, and then making a decision and then finding that, not necessarily to make money or for necessarily for anything in particular, but I think like when you that will help you at least find joy in existence. Something I just want to say something else, that when we started when I started my astrology course with my teacher Belu, she's from Argentina. I always say it. I don't know why I have to always say that she's from Argentina. Well, my friend Jello, yeah, she's my friend Belu, and she was saying like on Sundays, which is Sunday, the day of the sun, sometimes you get like the Sunday scaries and you feel like so a good technique for Sundays is like maybe you feel like that is like it's because you're not connecting to your sun energy, to your vitality, to the joy of life. So music is so powerful. Life is music, right? So a good thing to do is to listen to your favorite song from childhood specifically or particularly from childhood, and listen to that song, and that will awaken that will awake something in you, and you'll feel good. You'll connect to your vital energy. You'll connect to your spark. So that's something you can try, maybe, I don't know. Well, this is all I have for you for today. I'm so happy to be here again. I actually re-recorded this episode because last episode I was like, I was so slow, and I was like, this is fire energy. It's Leo. Why would I be so? So I just recorded it again. Well, I'll see you next time to talk about my sun energy, which I hope it's very upbeat next week too. That episode, which is Virgo. All right. Okay. I'll see you next time.